We have a question here as well. Can I get the microphone?
Thank you. My name is Paula Escobar. I'm a Chilean journalist. And I wanted to ask you about quotas. Because in Chile, we had a very interesting debate about gender parity regarding the new constitutional process. So it was accepted to have gender parity in the organ that's going to write the new constitution. The first project was rejected, but now we are going to a new one. And gender parity is one of the few things that is going to be, again, part of the project. So it's going to be written 50% women, 50% men. But that is about political participation. Now the government wants to pass a law on 40% quota in corporations. So there's debate, you know, business people, they don't like to have this kind of affirmative action by law. So there's debate about that. So I wanted to know, what do you think about quotas, specifically in corporations? Thank you.
Mr. Goldfajn, would you like to take that? And as I said, this is a controversial issue, and I think every country is grappling with it. In India, we now have made it mandatory for women to have representation on boards, but there is a larger debate on how much and what more needs to happen, if at all, you go down the reservation road or the affirmative action road. Your thoughts?
Well, there are different, I would say, political realities, and I think each country has an heterogeneous way of dealing with it. In terms of the regional banks, what we have been doing is having indicators and targets for gender, and I realized that there are different identities that should be incorporated in that regard. There's the issue about transversality of gender versus development, but I think we have to have the three of them: gender, development, and ethnicity, and other things. We need to put them together. I think the world is getting more complex. But for now, how the regional bank has been doing is looking at the targets as something to achieve for the loans you give, for the projects we do, for everything we do. But we don't have, we don't promote the regulations for the country. The countries do the regulations by themselves.
Minister, let me end by asking each one of you, and exactly, I think we've got 30 seconds for each of you. You know, you've previously said that women must have a seat at the table and they must be co-creators of any strategic intervention. And to the point that was made here by the lady, how do we get more women to get a seat at the table?
It's actually what she said is engaging more men, finding more he for she's is what we call it. Last year, we tried to amend our constitution to be able to have a commitment of 30% elected positions for women, and we failed despite all of the campaigning, because the men were asking, okay, if we give you the 30%, what about the 70%? Are you going to be also a part of that? And it didn't go through. So it's really very important to get, and there are some men that are very sympathetic, to get more men on our side, because that's the only way we can make progress.
Absolutely. Minister Irani.
Well, I think that I can very happily today elaborate on how, if men are at the helm of this partnership, things change. Nobody expected Prime Minister Modi to speak about building of toilets. He did, and he got it done. He's the first Prime Minister, irrespective of his gender, let me say this, who gave India its first menstrual hygiene administrative protocol. He is the first Prime Minister in India who passed in both Houses of Parliament medical termination of pregnancy at 24 weeks for women without a whimper or a noise from any other man in Indian politics. He is the first man, or woman for that matter, who stood on Independence Day, just, I think, 2 years ago, and spoke about access to menstrual hygiene products by girls and women in our administrative systems. For ₹1, he said, go get it. The fact that a man at the helm of affairs has brought about a change not only in discourse, but also in administrative capacity, ensured that gender justice percolates, I think is a very fine example to reiterate what she says. The lady says, yes, we need that partnership. What is significant is that we talk about gender parity today in a room which has a smattering of gentlemen.
Yes,
We need more rooms like this. We need more conversation,
men.
and we need equal participation.
I absolutely agree. I'm going to give Mr. Goldfajn the final say, but Gabriela, very quickly, 20 seconds, we're out of time. How do we get more women at the seat of the table? And of course, how do we engage and partner more with men?
So I think we need to go back to the subject matter of the panel, so economic recovery, and I think it is about, we're saying it's a holistic rethinking, and we're not wanting to recover to where we were before. We want to really transform a system where we're all at the table, in meaning that we are valuing all our identities and understanding that together we make societies that thrive, but both because it's a right, but also because it makes economic sense. And the care economy being at the center, and I'm happy that the WEF is creating a council for the care economy, and we are participating on it, and it's working across sectors that we transform.
Mr. Goldfajn, the final 10 seconds to you.
I just want to say that we are already engaging with positive masculinity here with me.
Well, we have an example of that right here on the panel. Ministers, Gabriela and Mr. Goldfajn, thank you so much for joining us here. It has been an interesting conversation with many ideas and insights on the table on what we can do to take this cause forward, what we can do to champion the case for more women to participate in the global economy. And of course, as we've all pointed out, there is no one-size-fits-all solution. It will need to be customized, but there needs to be a greater degree of collaboration. On your screens, ladies and gentlemen, that is the final slide that we are going to show you. That is what is happening at the World Economic Forum, the many initiatives of the forum to try and see that we can bridge this gap, we can mind the gap. That's, of course, the Global Gender Gap Report. I know Ms. Irani has issues with that, but that's a debate for another day. We've got the Gender Parity Accelerators and the Global Parity Alliance. So, you know, the QR codes are there. If you want to find out more about any of these initiatives, go ahead and do so. Do send us your feedback and your comments, your suggestions. We would love to hear from you. Once again, many, many thanks to my panel and many thanks to the participants. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you very much for joining us here this morning.